Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
Jon, Amanda, welcome to the show. How are you?
We're great, Sarah.
Good. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on. So could you give us a little bit of information about who you both are?
Sure. Yeah, we're Amanda and Jon, or Jon and Amanda. And we have been investing for the last few years, since about 2017. It kind of kick-started when we went to a Key Spire event and we got hooked. I mean, we've always loved real estate. We bought our first townhouse when we were 20. So we started buying properties at a very young age, but we didn't start investing until 2017.
Yeah, we have 2 kids, 9 and 7, boy and a girl, and we live in a small town just outside of Kitchener. So we primarily invest here in our own region. And what else? Yeah, just we're in our mid 30s. Mm-hmm. And we're investing in real estate because we love it and because it's a great way to create a legacy and build financial freedom.
Absolutely. So you started in 2017, and can you share your real estate investing strategy?
Yeah, so it's evolved for sure over time. We when we first bought we bought our first investment property in 2017. It was a condo that was fairly new. It was about 3.5 years old at the time, and at that moment we were thinking we'll buy a property or two, and by the time we go to retire at retirement age, we'll have a nice little nest egg for retirement. And it was the Key Spire event that kind of switched our mindset into I guess we were kind of anti-debt at the time, and it switched our mindset into using leverage to be able to create not just a comfortable retirement, but create an early retirement and the wealth that you would need to just do whatever you want and live the life that you want. So so we started then, and the strategy became from just buying a couple properties, it turned into using the BRRRR method with duplex conversions.
All right, very cool. It sounds similar to how I started too, right? With buy and hold, and then realizing that there's a way potentially to do it a little bit faster by recycling the money rather than leaving it in there and only being able to refinance, maybe down the road, depending on what market comps have
That's
been.
Right.
Are you able to share what your portfolio consists of today?
Yeah, so we have a condo in Waterloo, Ontario, and it's just a small 1-bed, 1-bath. We have a duplex conversion property in Kitchener, and we have a triplex actually in Moncton, New Brunswick. And then we also have another one that we're working on right now, another duplex conversion in Kitchener. Awesome. So 4 altogether.
Yeah,
very cool.
4 properties. The original condo that we bought in Kitchener, we sold to start the duplexing. So we got rid of that one. So we still have the one other condo, and then now we're basically into duplex conversions, and we'll likely in the near future exit the Moncton market and use that capital to keep going with our strategy here.
That's awesome. So you've done really well. Can you maybe share how investing in real estate has changed some of your life or your lifestyle? I know you mentioned you have 2 kids. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think the kids is I'll start there. We actually involve our kids in the real estate stuff, and mainly bringing them to the properties and showing them what they look like and what they can look like. So they see the process from start to finish, and they really enjoy it. And on top of that, I think it's creating a mindset for them too, because we have become very frugal when it comes to our own house, because we want to use our capital to create income producing assets. And so they see that too. They know that our biggest focus right now is building the portfolio so that we can enjoy the fruits of our labor down the road. And so I think that it's all about having the right kind of debt to propel our business, and not having any of the wrong kind of debt. So we're teaching that to our kids, and we're living that way more so than we ever did before too.
That's awesome. I think you guys are on my Instagram. I love the stuff that you're sharing and helping others as well. And I think
Thank
that's
you.
that's what it's all about. And, the other thing I really love is interviewing couples just to, understand how this all happened. So, Matt has been great. I mean, we've been together for 14 years. He's just not as into real estate, but he's been so supportive. But I'm just curious for you guys, was it both of you that like realized this together at the same time? Did one person have to talk the other person into it? How did that all play out in the beginning?
Yeah, so like we've been together, we've known each other since we were 14. That's when we met, but didn't start dating till we were 16. So we've known each other for a very long time. So just kind of like a backstory, I was always the type of kid that like wanted to go out and do stuff and spend my money. Jon was, more the let's save, he's got, these ambitious goals, and that was great. He kind of like had me go that direction with him. And we've always just had similar goals. Like it's been great. We would talk about what we wanted, and we just started saving. We moved into an apartment when we were 19, and we said we're gonna rent for 1 year. That's it. Like then we're gonna buy something. So that's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't necessarily come into our relationship with the same goals, but it didn't take long for us to get on the same page. So when it came to the interest in real estate, like we used to do things like we lived in, our first house was a new build. So we were in a new community where there was model homes, and we would just for fun go for walks and just walk through the model homes to get ideas for our future houses. And we always talked about maybe even just keeping that townhouse and start kickstarting our investing career by keeping and renting out the house that we first bought. And that didn't work, but we always had that in the back of our mind, we wanted to do it. But we got married at 22 and started having kids at 24. So we kind of just put it on hold. And it was always the plan to come back to it. So now that in 2017, our kids were kind of getting to an age where we weren't so bogged down with the baby stuff anymore, and we could do it. So we did not have to convince the other, which we're very, very lucky. I know there's a lot of couples where one half is not on board, and it's very difficult to do anything financial when you're the only one that wants it. So we're definitely lucky that way.
That's great to hear. Now, is there something that you guys do that the other person might not in terms of the business? Like, did you split some of the tasks and the real estate, pieces where maybe one person works more on the admin stuff or the paperwork, one person likes to hunt for deals? I'll leave it to you, but, or are you guys both doing everything together to both, learn and grow to, and I don't know, there's some people that do everything together, and then some people are like, okay, you're better at this, do this, or vice versa.
Yeah, we definitely have our separate things that we do. I do a lot of the design stuff and social media stuff. Jon does a lot of like finding the tenants and the deal stuff and all the financial.
I think anything that has to do with like the business side of things is me. She doesn't talk to a lender or a broker until it's time to sign. And I fill her in on everything. She's fully aware of what's going on, but I take care of most of it. And I think I enjoy doing that more than she does. And so I think when it comes to admin stuff, things that if she doesn't know as much about the finance stuff as I do, she won't do that. But then there might be some admin stuff that is a little bit easier for her to take on. So we're starting to do that more, split up the tasks so that I'm not doing all the business stuff. She can actually start getting into it and getting used to it. And we're looking to start outsourcing more things now too, just the little things that are time consumers that might be holding us back from finding our next deal. So we split everything fairly evenly, and we'll start to outsource more things as we get a little bit busier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's awesome. So, what advice would you have if there's a couple and they're investing together, just to be able to say, this is your real estate, time, this is your family time, like, and I don't know if you guys have this all set out, but I will say you're a great example. You've got 2 kids that are fairly young, and you're in real estate. You've got other things going on. How do you juggle it all, and what kind of advice might you give somebody that's going into this with their partner?
Yeah, we're starting to kind of get into that now more. So we've dedicated Sundays just for a family day. We want to make sure we set aside enough time for the kids and not talk about business as much, and for ourselves too. A lot of times we talk about the business and just real estate in general. So it's hard to kind of make sure that we're setting that time aside for ourselves and for our family. But I think we're doing a pretty good job. Sunday is definitely the day for family, but some evenings too, we make sure that it's like, okay, we turn it off. We don't talk about anything that like real estate related.
I think now it's more important than ever to make sure the kids know that we're not just focused on real estate and business, because they don't have their friends to play with and they don't really have any interaction with other people. So that's why now in the evenings too, we play games and stuff before bed and just have that family time. But we do have to not, I don't want to say force it, but we do have to remind ourselves that there's more to life than real estate. So we just do our best to balance it.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
I want to take a step the other direction and talk about the BRRRR and the actual deals that you guys are doing. You know, can you walk us through potentially the last deal and what that looked like, and then just you know, maybe the conversion process from your experience?
Yeah, sure. So we're in the Kitchener market, so there's no such thing as a perfect BRRRR here for the most part. So we went into this knowing that we're not getting all of our money out of the deal right away. And so we know that if we want to stay in the duplex strategy and not go into the bigger multifams, then we're going to be taking on partners or getting creative with financing. But for the time being, we're trying to do as many as we can on our own, and then we're pretty much getting to the point where it's time for partners. And the first duplex we did in Kitchener, we purchased that property for $525,000. It was a 3-bedroom 60s bungalow, red brick bungalow, and we planned to turn it into a 3-bed up, 2-bed down. The drawings reflected that anyway, and we decided at the last minute to make it a 1-bedroom in the basement because it was going to make the living and kitchen areas very small. So we ended up with a 3-bed, 3-bed up and 1-bed down, and the renovation all in was just under $120,000, and we ended up with an ARV of $670,000.
And you bought it for how much?
$525,000.
Okay.
So this was an off-market deal. We had made about 3 offers the week prior to buying this property, and our realtor had an investor client who had just closed on this property or was about to, and decided he didn't want to take on that project. He had some other stuff he was working on. So because we had just recently made some offers, our realtor reached out to us and we jumped on it right away. We had no competition on it, which is half the battle in this market and most markets now. And so, yeah, we did really well with it. So we pulled out half of our initial investment. So we left the down payment and the closing costs in the deal, but we got our renovation costs out. So we were able to take that money and go kind of contributed to getting the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for listeners to realize that, you know, a perfect BRRRR doesn't always happen, right? It's what makes sense. Because regardless, you still made profit because there's 20% left in the deal that you can't pull out regardless, right?
Yep.
So there's actually likely some good profit that you've made in there. And even though you didn't pull out everything, I'll tell you the ability to pull out everything, if you're waiting for that perfect deal, so is every single other investor, and that perfect deal right now is going to go into multiples, unless you find it off market, which there is still some. But I would say, you know, there might be 10% of deals that are going to be the perfect BRRRR, maybe 20, where you're pulling out your entire reno and holding costs and your down payment in full, and then you're making money. Like, can you do them? Absolutely. You know, but like, could you do it where you're pulling out your reno, your hold costs, and then, you know, a portion of your down payment? Absolutely. It doesn't necessarily make it a bad deal. It just has to be with what your, your goals are. And you've got to just run the numbers ahead of time to know that that is likely going to be the scenario, and be okay with that piece, and making sure that your rents are going to cover your costs.
Yeah, exactly. We know that we're not going to be able to recycle the money, like 100% of that money over and over and over again, like somebody potentially in a secondary market where it's easier to do. But we still prefer to invest in our market. It's a very, very solid market, and we know it very well. So we were reluctant to start buying. We did buy the one Moncton property, but it wasn't a BRRRR. It was a turnkey property. But we prefer to invest here, and instead of trying to learn a whole new market and having to likely travel and build a whole new team in that market that we don't know as well, we're just making it work here. And I think that owning half of more of our properties in our market with partners, rather than maybe owning them on our own somewhere else, is still preferred for us. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to continue down this road, and as long as the prices don't go completely nuts, which they've already started, we'll just keep buying like little bungalows in Kitchener and turn them into duplexes and keep going.
Absolutely. Because I will tell you that, at some point your property that you might have your down payment in, and again, everyone's goals are different, so you've got to run the numbers, but you're likely going to be able to refinance that back, right? With mortgage pay down, slow appreciation over a long period of time, and cash flow will increase as your tenants turn over and market rents reset. So there's some benefits of being in Ontario. Potentially, and there's also benefits of being in Eastern Canada or the US. And so you've got to look at all of the different pieces. Right. And, what a lot of new investors that are getting into the game, they're looking for that perfect BRRRR. And I'll tell you could find it, but it's going to be tough, right? So find out if it makes sense, or like you said, buy something maybe turnkey in Moncton or Nova Scotia or wherever. And that probably has really great cash flow. But, again, pros and cons in every single market. You likely won't get the same type of lift as you would in your region. So every strategy, every market has its pros and cons. What are some of the things that you could share maybe with some newer investors or somebody that's been doing it for a while but wants to get into the BRRRR strategy? Like, what are some of the aha moments that you might have had over the last 3 years doing this?
I would say the biggest aha moment, or I guess the first aha moment, was when we sat in front of Scott McGillivray and listened to him speak and realized that the really small time plans that we had for real estate were just no longer good enough. And if your plan is, if all you want to do is own 1 or 2 rental properties in your life, and that's good enough for you, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to become wealthy and have that time freedom and location freedom that everyone dreams of, there are ways to scale a real estate business very, very quickly. And we're not going very quickly. We're going at a pace that's comfortable for us and not biting off more than we can chew, which I know that our investors and partners will appreciate. But there are ways to do it. I think that was what it was. We were kind of like, okay, well, we'll buy another one in a few years, and we'll buy another one in a few years. And then we realized that's not what we wanted to do. So that's why we started really learning the different strategies so we can decide which one made the most sense. And that changed a few times. But we got on social media, we followed all the great investors like yourself, and decided and started reading books and watching YouTube videos and just learning. And then we started becoming experts. And then we realized, so basically we realized that it's, there's so much more you can do. And I think that was the biggest aha moment. And it was just that one event for us that turned things around.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That we started watching Matt Bichet and Matt McKeever and following great people. So it was a mindset shift. And that was the biggest thing for us. I don't think we realized that that was even a possibility, right? Like it was.
I think that everybody
Yeah.
starts out that way. I've heard that so many times. Like, I had
Yeah.
no idea about all this.
Yeah.
And then when you start, especially on social media, you see just how many people are doing it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, compared to the population, it's a small number of people that do this, but it's a fairly big community once you're in it, and it's like a whole different world. So
It is.
if you're an aspiring investor, or you want to do something like this, just get online and follow people and see what they're doing, and decide which kind of direction makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. So I want to go back because you've mentioned JVs and partners and, utilizing partners moving forward.
Mhm.
So how are you planning on getting your partners right now? And I know you're very active on social media. That doesn't have to be your answer. But what are some of the strategies that you've been doing to find some of those joint venture partners to bring the capital or hold the financing or whatever it is that you guys need?
Well, the biggest thing is the know, like, and trust factor. So social media does have does play a big part in it. So, for example, we have been on social media actively for this business for maybe, I think I want to say December or January, like January 2020. So just over a year. And we said we were going to grow organically. We weren't going to do anything crazy. We weren't going to do the whole follow thousands of people so that we get a big following. We followed, a few hundred people. We're up to 1,100 followers now. We did that organically. We wanted people to follow because they wanted to follow us. And once enough people started to actually see what we were up to, we had people starting to reach out saying they love what we're doing. And, that we've had many people say, hey, I will have access to some cash soon, and I'd love to work with you guys. And for example, when we had purchased the current duplex conversion that we're working on now, we needed a private loan for the renovation. And before we started going to brokers and seeing what options we had, we did an Instagram story and said, we're looking for, a private investor or lender to come on board and work on this project with us. And within a couple of days, we had
a few people reach out to
we
us.
had several people reach out, but within a couple of days we had settled or I guess confirmed with a lender just in Milton, so not even too far away, and we were able to borrow $100,000 on a promissory note. And the biggest thing was, he said to us, I've been following you guys for a while and love what you do, and I'm actually looking at doing something similar. So I've got this money that I don't need right away, so I'd love to work with you. And so that's an example. And then right now we're doing the Bill Allen's 500K challenge, where we go live every day for 30 days with the goal of raising $500,000 or more for the business. And that's also been working quite well also. And it's just people that follow us and already feel like they know us. And one woman that we spoke to that has some money that she wants to lend, when we first got on a video call, she said, I feel like I already know you guys. And so that is probably the biggest piece of advice I would give somebody looking to do something similar, is grow be genuine, create a brand, and grow an organic following, people that want to be following you, and add value to them, and it'll pay off.
That's amazing. And like you said, people will want to, be around you, loan you money in this case, if they trust, know, and like you. Mm-hmm. I think that's how I reached out to you guys, was I was watching your Instagram posts and stories, and you were sharing information. I thought that was really cool, and you're giving back to the community. So I'm like, I've got to have them on the show.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So the next part of the podcast, I'm going to ask you guys, you can answer together or separate, but it's going to be our lightning round. And so the answers are going to be short, condensed, 20 seconds or less per answer. And you can either give me a shared answer or a separate one. You ready?
Okay, go for it.
Sure.
Hopefully you can start.
All right. Whoever wants to start, it's all good. Question number 1, what is your favorite real estate investing book?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for me. I think that's kind of the one that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's the one that kickstarted us, and I think it's famous for doing that. Once you read that, you're kind of hooked.
We had our 9-year-old read it as well, and he loved it.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
That is awesome. I'm actually getting my 12-year-old niece to read it and then take notes on her computer and then summarize the chapter to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it is a life-changing book. So
Yes.
Yeah.
very
definitely.
cool. Question number 2. It doesn't have to be real estate, but what is your favorite podcast?
Oh, geez, putting us on the spot here.
Definitely yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, other than mine, because people are listening to this already, right? So is there something else that they might be able to listen to?
We listen to yours very frequently,
Oh,
but I would say
awesome.
the other favorite would be the Rise
Rise.
podcast with Austin Ye
Yeah.
and Mayu. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Awesome.
Well.
Good.
Yeah,
I don't think
enjoy
that's
that.
actually been mentioned yet, but they do have a really awesome podcast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Question number 3. What do you do for fun aside from business or real estate related things?
I forget what we do for fun.
What's
we would be skiing right now if the ski hills were open. So I think in the winter,
or
skiing,
Mexico, we love going on vacations and going to
yeah,
Mexico,
traveling and definitely in wintertime, skiing for sure is our favorite.
All right. Awesome. Number 4, if you lost all your money and your assets tomorrow, how would you start again?
I don't.
I'd go right back to the basics. We did it. We did it once. We'll do it again. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if we were in this hypothetical scenario, if we know what we know now, I wouldn't hesitate just to jump back in and start again the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And last question. If somebody has $50,000 and they want to get started, how would you recommend that they spend that money?
I would recommend probably house hacking, like if it works with their lifestyle. Like I feel like if we maybe had done things differently, that would have been a good option for us starting out before we had kids. Doesn't work for everyone's situation, obviously, but
Yeah, if that money could be turned into a house hack, and then there's a portion left for a really, really good coach or mentor, I would do that.
Awesome. Jon, Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show. If my listeners wanted to reach out and know more about you, where can they go?
we are on Instagram at Legacy Home Investments. They can follow us there. We're on YouTube as well at Legacy Home or
Legacy Home, yeah.
Where else?
And legacyhome.ca.
.ca, yeah.
Awesome. And I always ask this as the last question. Any final last words of advice?
Just start, take action.
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice would be in general would be do 1% every day. Like just move the needle a little bit every day. It adds up to big action, and it doesn't take long to see major changes when you do that. So don't just sit around. Do something, and you'll succeed.
I like that saying, 1% better every day. Because I'll tell you, it doesn't seem like a lot and a lot of effort at that point in time. But yeah, you're right. Massive changes over time.
Yes.
Awesome.
Totally.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great.
Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?